Hmm. So today we are so fortunate to have His Grace Ram Shraddha Prabhu from Mayapur, India, and Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagvatam 7.13. verse 25 and onwards. So Hare Krishna Prabhuji, welcome to the call. Dhanavad Pranam. Please take over the call now.
जय वंदेहं श्री गुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्री गुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणरघुनाथान्वितं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादविता श्री विशाखांश ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुमिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी ते नाम नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पत्रते चार्य नमः शुभराय राधिका प्रियात्म श्री भक्तिवेदांत नारायण ते नाम नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ते नाम शिवार्ष भानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाब्दे कृष्ण light has been put on, it doesn't work. कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः आद्यरोज्जल प्रेमाद्य श्री रूपानुग भक्तिद श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमस्ते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्ते दिन तारिणी रूपानुग विदाप सिद्धांत स्वांत हारिणे वंशकल्पतरु वैश्य कृपा सिंधु वैवच पतितनम पावने वैष्णव नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्ण कृष्ण चैतन्य भक्ति पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्ण भक्त रूप स्वरूप भक्तावतार भक्ताख्यम नमो भक्ति शक्ति हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विषभानुसुते प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतो पुंगुर्मुमुन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्य पदाम्भोजौ श्री राधा मदनमो दिव्याद वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमद श्रीमद रत्नांगर श्रीमात्सरस्व श्री राधा शील गोविंद देव प्रेष्ठालि सेव्य मानो स्मरामि श्रीमन रासरसारंभे वंशीवद ततस्थित कर्षण्वेन गोपी गोपीनाथ शेषनुः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवत्ताय नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा एवरीबॉडी कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम
Ram
राम
Hare
राम
Ram Ram
राम
Ram
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Ram
राम
Ram
राम
Ram
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
Hare
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram
राम
Ram
Ram,
राम
Ram
Ram
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Ram.
So please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
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 Namo
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 Bhagavate
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 Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya. Repeat.
Narayan
Narayan
Full fat.
Namaskritte.
This one.
Naran Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram
Naram
Chaiva
Devam
Narottamam
Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim
Devam
Saraswati Vyasam
Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Mudiraye.
Tato
Tato
Jayanudire.
Jayanamudire.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of God Narayan, and Naranarayan, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srinvatam Swakata Krishna
Srimataam Satatam Krishna
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha
Hridiyantastoi abhadrani
Hridayantastu abhadrani
vidunoti suhrat satam.
Vidunoti
vidunatam.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotees, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu
Ashtaprayeshu abhadreshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
nityam
Nityam
bhagavata
Bhagavate
sevaya
Sevya.
bhagavati uttama shloke
Bhagavati
bhagavati
Uttam Shloke.
namaste
bhaktir bhavati naistiki.
bhakti bhavati naishtaki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai Gunita Radharani ki Raj Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
So we are reading from chapter 13. I just want to read the introduction of this chapter so that we'll be again, we'll get a synopsis of the whole thing. This 13th chapter describes the regulative principles for sannyasis and also describes the history of an avaduta. It concludes with a description of perfection for the student in spiritual advancement. Sri Narada Muni has been describing the symptoms of various ashramas and varnas. Now in this chapter, he specifically described the regulative principles to be followed by the sannyasi. After retiring from family life, one should accept the status of vanaprastha, in which he must formally accept the body as his means of existence, but gradually forget the bodily necessities of life. After vanaprastha life, having left home, one should travel to different places as a sannyasi. Without bodily comforts and free from dependence on anyone, with respect to bodily necessities, one should travel everywhere, wearing almost nothing or actually walking naked. Without association with ordinary human society, one should beg alms and always be satisfied in himself. He should be a friend to everyone, every living entity, and be very respectful, very peaceful in Krishna consciousness. A sannyasi should travel alone in this way, not caring for life or death, waiting for the time when he will leave this material body. He should not indulge in unnecessary books or adopt professions like astrology, or nor should he try to become great orator. He should also give up the path of unnecessary argument and should not depend on anyone under any circumstances. He should not try to allure people into becoming his disciples just so that the number of disciples may increase. He should give up the habit of reading many books as a means of livelihood, and he should not attempt to increase the number of temples or matas or monasteries. When a sannyasi thus becomes completely independent, peaceful, and equipoised, he can select the destination he desires after death and follow the principles by which to reach the destination. Although fully learned, and he always remains silent, like a dumb person, and travels like a restless child. In this regard, Narada Muni describes a meeting between Prahlad Maharaj and a saintly person who has adopted the mode of life of a python. In this way, he described the symptoms of a Paramahamsa. A person who has not attained the Paramahamsa stage knows very well the distinction between matter and spirit. He is not at all interested in gratifying the material senses, for he is always deriving pleasure from devotional service to the Lord. He is not very anxious to protect his material body, being satisfied with whatever he attains by the grace of the Lord. He is completely independent of material happiness and distress, and thus he is transcendental to all regulative principles. Sometimes he accepts severe austerities, and sometimes he accepts material opulence. His only concern is to satisfy Krishna, and for that purpose he can do anything and everything without reference to the regulative principles. He is never to be equated with materialistic men, nor is he subject to the judgments of such men. Beautiful chapter, which we are going to read the verse 25. Actually, we come into this world with nothing and we live with nothing. Basically, that is the essence of whatever we are at now. But in the meantime, we accumulate many things and we become attached because it gives a certain comfort, certain level of comfort. A little nice cozy place. Winter is coming. We have a nice blanket to cover ourselves, so on and so forth. A nice meal. The sannyasi never even goes to the same house for collecting madhukari. He will never go to one house. He will just go to different places, and whatever little he collects, 2 chapatis or something, and buttermilk, and that is good enough for him. So the rest of the life is devoting mostly towards bhajan. Bhajan means remembering Krishna, chanting his holy name, singing songs of Krishna, following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. This is the life of a bhajananandi. Bhajan. Always thinking about the welfare of all human society. And whenever any chance comes, he will preach to people. Jare dako tare kaho Krishna upades hamara agyan guru hoy tare. And here it says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says one should preach to everyone, whomever he meet, whomever he sees. And this way you become a guru. But the guru doesn't mean necessarily he's accepting them as disciples. Guru means he's leading them in the proper direction, pointing his finger. This is the direction one must go. So this is the life of a sannyasi. He's not collecting money for temples and mutts and this and that. No external things. Simply concerned about his bhajan, about his service. And whoever comes to him, he will preach. Otherwise, he's not worried about going here and there, in the name of preaching. Nowadays, in the name of preaching, it goes to the people travel by plane to such distance. But actually, if you read the Bhagavatam, people never traveled so much except for Narada Muni or maybe some personality like that. Mostly people preached in the vicinity of wherever they live. Or in India, previously they would visit different holy places where the Lord has performed many pastimes, many holy rivers are flowing there. And this is how great saintly persons maintained their high level of spiritual consciousness. So now we'll come to the verse 25th, today's verse. Please repeat. Yad richaya lokam imam prapitaha karmabir brahman swarga pavargayor dwaram tirashcham punar asya cha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his purport. In the course of the evolutionary process, which is caused by the fruitive activities due to undesirable material sense gratification, I have received this human form of life, which can lead to the heavenly planets, to liberation, to the lower species, or to rebirth among human beings. Purport. All living entities within the material world are undergoing the cycle of birth and death according to the laws of nature. The struggle for birth and death in different species may be called the evolutionary process. But in the Western world, it has been wrongly explained. Darwin's theory of evolution from animal to man is incomplete because the theory does not present the reverse condition, namely evolution from man to animal. In this verse, however, the evolution has been very well explained on the strength of the Vedic authority. Human life, which is obtained in the course of the evolutionary process, is a chance for the elevation, swarga pavarga, or for degradation. Terashcham punar asya cha. If one uses this human form of life properly, he can elevate himself to the higher planetary systems, where material happiness is thousands of times better than that on this planet. Or one may cultivate knowledge by which to become free from the evolutionary process and be reinstated in one's original spiritual position. This is all called apavarga. There's two things, pavarga and apavarga. Apavarga is a process by which to go back home backward, elevate our consciousness. Pavarga means to be situated in this world of birth and death. So human life is so rare. Only when one understands this rarity of human life does any desire for spiritual life comes into his life. Like Dhruva Maharaj was mainly concerned about getting a position more than his grandfather, Brahma. So what happened, by the kind instructions of his mother, he went to the forest seeking for God. And there appeared Narada Muni. And Narada Muni tried to discourage him, like, this is a small quarrel which you have with your brother or your father or your stepmother. Don't take it so seriously. But he was so determined. And he did not have to do any advice, except the advice how to find God. That was his main motive. And Narada Muni could see his determination. So he initiated him into the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And in 6 months he saw Krishna, Vishnu. He was started with eating something, then he collected leaves, dry leaves, ate that, breathing air, like that. Exactly what is given in the introduction of this chapter. They practically naked in the forest. Who's going to see him anyhow? He was determined to meditate, and he saw Krishna. And when he saw the beauty of Krishna, he said, my Lord, I was looking for some broken pieces of glass. Now that I've gotten the gem of your lotus feet and the transcendental form of the Lord. So this is what is called apavarga. This is a process by which one can become free from birth and death. But that is not the goal of education nowadays. Nowadays, you keep on working till the last minute, till you die. Nobody thinks, not even parents think about that. Nobody thinks in those terms. How to retire, how to lead a comfortable life, have a house in Mayapur or Vrindavan, acting somewhere in America. Just this is better than many things what people are doing, but that does not have the dynamism of spiritual existence, spiritual life. Always be engaged in Krishna's service in the 9 forms of devotional service. That may not be a very strong element in living here in Mayapur for 1 month and living somewhere else in America for some months, because we are actually on a comfort zone where we can live comfortably, not taking any trouble to associate with sadhus and serve the sadhus and move forward in pure devotional service. And that is explained very nicely in this book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Madhurya Kadambini. That is not the emphasis at all nowadays. But it should become emphasis. Prabhupada has come to give the whole world this process of devotional service. And some places it is easy, some places it is very stringent. But we should ready to go through all the types of dualities one goes through in attaining the perfection. So let us see what is this pavarga means. Material life is called pavarga because here we are subject to 5 different states of suffering represented by the letters pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Pa means parishram, very hard labor. Pa means fena or foam from the mouth. For example, sometimes we see a horse foaming at the mouth with heavy labor. Ba means vyartha, vyartatha, disappointment. In spite of such hard labor, at the end we find disappointment. Bha means bhaya, fear. In material life, one is always in the blazing fire of fear, since no one knows what will happen next. Finally, ma means mrityu or death. When one attempts to nullify these 5 different statuses of life, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma, one achieves apavarga or liberation from the punishment of material existence. You know, in Vedic literatures, all these type of special sutras are mentioned. Pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. We never think in those terms. And this pa, pa, ba, ba, ma is one of the different series of syllables in the language of Sanskrit. Ka, ka, ga, ga, na, ta, ta, da, da, na, pa, pa, ba, ma, ma, yara, lava, like that. So, pa, pa, ba, ba, ma has been taken from these different groups of letters to describe material life. And actually, it is a fact. Whatever is explained, pa means parishram. So much labor we do. Like all of you gone from India to America. It's quite an endeavor. It's not you walked next door. No. Quite something, caught a plane ticket, and the whole family has to go. Everybody gets a visa, some or other, go to Delhi, Bombay, somewhere to the consulate, get a visa. Parishram is involved in this. And then you go there, you have to find a house, comfortably situated. And then, of course, you have to work in a good job so that you get decent money, because that's the main reason why one has gone to America. So India is people think it is, well, it is too crowded, this and that, so many things. And then, this parishrama is rewarded according to our karma also. Not everybody gets the same result. Some people get instantaneously, they'll become millionaires. There was an Indian who made a hotmail.com. This was way in the beginning when the computers came, an email address he made. And he was very good at programming, and he made this hotmail.com. And he sold it to Microsoft for several $1 million. And he made his money. But unfortunately, if after making money, he did not retire from material existence, he continued to keep on doing business. They're motivated to do something else and again sell it to somebody. This is how it happens. All this business. People are intelligent, but somehow we think they can understand these words, papa, baba, ma. A hard labor, and foam in the mouth, and then ba means disappointment. In spite of such hard labor, at the end we find disappointment. And bha means bhaya, fear, and and then comes ma, mrityu. No intelligent man, so-called intelligent people who speak the language, they can never understand these things. It requires association of devotees who have realized this. Papa Bama, we can overcome this, no problem. Because when you're young, youthful, we forget about all these things. This is not the top priority. Nobody thinks in terms of parishram. This is also life. Life is hard work. And this way they have so many justifications. Mrityu, whoever thinks about it, everybody is going to die. We'll also die. But where you are going to go after death, nobody considers that. Nobody has seen the future. But how the future is happening because of the state of the mind. But that nobody takes care of that. What are my thoughts? What are my thoughts? What am I thinking? In which direction I am thinking? And based on intelligence, knowledge. You see, if you don't have this knowledge, this is how Prabhupada came to this material world to enlighten everybody, all living entities. Prativiti Acharya Nagaratri Gram Sarvata Pujaya Hobe Morana. He spread the holy name all throughout this planet. And it is expanding. It's expanding, expanding, expanding. All of you are going to the temples and your spiritual initiation, names. So many things are happening to you, even though you are in America. And now you are all coming together every day morning for chanting japa and then having Bhagavatam class. Normally, you have to go to a temple to have these things. But because you're all not living near a temple or how far you live, I don't know. But you are able to get a little group together digitally. And we are doing the same thing what they would do in the temple. Only that you should have a little, when you come together first thing in the morning, you should do Samsara Dava prayers. That will be nice. Because ultimately, the Samsara Dava prayers glorifies the spiritual master. And it is the spiritual master's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, that we are now getting a little foothold in the spiritual process of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga. The word Tirashcham refers to degraded life. Human life, of course, provides an opportunity for the best living conditions. As Western people think, from the monkeys come the human beings who are more comfortably situated. However, if one does not utilize this human life for Swarga or Apavarga, he falls again to the degraded life of animals like dogs and hogs. Therefore, a sane human being must consider whether he will elevate himself to the higher planets, prepare to free himself from the evolutionary process, or travel again through the evolutionary process in the higher and lower grades of life. If one works piously, one will be elevated to the higher planetary system or achieve liberation and return home back to Godhead. But otherwise, one may be degraded to a life of a dog or a hog and so on. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Janti Deva Vrata Devan. Those interested in being elevated to the higher planetary systems, Devaloka or Swargaloka, must prepare to do so. Similarly, if one wants liberation, wants to return back home Godhead, he should prepare himself for that. Because ultimately, there is only one test you have to pass in our life. Only one test at the time of death. What is the mind dwelling on? That determines our next life. So there is no need to write exam. The exam is all, test is given in the last minute. Are we able to remember Krishna? Are you able to chant Hare Krishna? That's all. We have to do that. But the death is such a thing, it's not like a fixed time. Okay, I have 10 years and I will die after 10 years. No. A death may come any minute. And nowadays there was one YouTube little clip I got. A doctor says nowadays at the age of 20, 21 people are getting heart attacks. So he was wondering as a doctor, how can such a young person get heart attack? And these young people, they have no diabetics, no blood pressure problem. They never drink, never take cigarettes. They're vegetarians, all positive things. And still they are getting heart attacks. How did they get? So finally, he called for the family members. He said, I want to talk to the family members of this boy who got a heart attack. Then the parents came. Then the parents told, well, now the husband and he was a chartered accountant and the wife is a IT expert. And then the father-in-law or the father of the boy said, well, they just filed for a divorce. They had everything in their life. Successful careers, nice family, this, that, no bad habits, nothing. Still heart attack came because of the stress issue, because of this divorce which is pending on their head like a knife. And then the doctor talked to the wife and somehow or other said you should be, and somehow convinced her to drop this idea of divorce and try to put your life together with some affection. Don't just sit on your mobile and put all your energy on that. Rather, one should spend some time together. He was telling go to walks and, like a simple way of lifestyle, interacting with each other. And then, of course, money is there, plenty of there, both of them, they make money. But somehow or other, the stress is actually due to forgetfulness of Krishna. You have no idea of goal of life. Like Arjuna, he was also stressed out after he saw the armies. But he had Krishna there, and he approached Krishna, he appealed to Krishna, you are no more friendly talks. I am your disciple, give instruction. And immediately he got the solution. The whole situation, the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So stress comes from no establishment of our relationship with Krishna. Sambandha Gyan, it is called. Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. Prayojan is love of Krishna. And Abhidaya is the process. But first it starts with Sambandha. Like a girl and a boy gets married, that is only Sambandha is established. But Abhidaya, they have to serve each other, take up each other, have children, promote them. Then the goal is their affection to each other will grow. But in the material world, this affection, if it grows, you become very attached to each other. And the next life, the man will become a woman and the woman will become a man. Because that's what they are thinking. So somehow or other, we have to change this, bring the center to Krishna. Both husband and wife should be thinking of Krishna's satisfaction. Every day there are so many things, cooking for Krishna, flower garlands for Krishna, making a dress for festivals, and observing Ekadasi and singing some bhajans. This is the way to mold one's life. But if we don't do that, we may be very close to Krishna in one sense, but we are far away. Because what are we thinking whole day? Very important. So we should not take spiritual life for granted. One has to actively cultivate it. Like any job you go, you have to actively cultivate to go climb the ladder. There are departmental exams you have to pass, then you get more salary, this, that, and all these things. And finally you go and become a manager or something, or a damager, or whatever it is. So you have to climb up the ladder. But what is devotional climbing up the ladder is not to become a GBC or this or that, but to actually become dependent on Krishna and surrender to Krishna and bring joy and pleasure to Krishna. Like the Brajavasis. They are thinking about Krishna's pleasure, not their own pleasure. That's why they are called prema. Is kama, when you satisfy calm, then it becomes materialistic. When you same thing for the pleasure of Krishna, it becomes prema. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita goes into great lengths in describing this, the difference between kama and prema. So we have to transform our lives, our activities, day-to-day interactions into prema for Krishna. Serving the devotees, inviting the devotees to one's home, and hearing from them, and do bhajan and kirtan, and speaking about Krishna consciousness. This is very important. Like we have this program. Now we can be speaking about small-time things of life and the present-day situation, Ukraine and Russia, this and that. But it will not going to benefit us because they are all activities which are conducted within the three modes of nature. After some time, you can become tired of hearing all these things because they have been talking and talking since years and no solution to the problem. Whereas we as devotees, aspiring devotees of the Lord, our goal is very clear, to please Krishna, to do things that which pleases Krishna. So we are hearing Bhagavatam in the association of devotees so that our attachment to Krishna increases. Srinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantaste abhadrani vidunoti. As one develops a desire to hear about Krishna more and more, all difficulties in the material life will go away. And this is very important. Our Krishna conscious movement is therefore the highest movement for the benediction of human society, because this society, this movement is teaching people how to go back home, back to God. In the Bhagavad Gita 13:22, it is clearly stated that different forms of life are obtained by association with the three modes of material nature. Karanam guna sangasya. Sadasad sangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. According to one's association with the material modes of qualities of goodness, passion, ignorance in this life, in one's next life, one receives appropriate body. Modern civilization does not know that because of varied association in the material nature, the living entity, although eternal, is placed in different diseased conditions known as the many species of life. Modern civilization is unaware of the laws of nature. Nobody talks about it, neither in the school nor in the home. Everybody is thinking of ahara nidra bhayam maitunam. This is what even animals do. Without even going to school and college, they get their food, shelter, sex and everything. But we make really endeavor, go through whole thing trying to make money, but getting the same thing. Ahara nidram bhayam maitunam. Marriage and the whole arrangement for marriage, spending so much money, this and that. For what? For these four functions only. Ahara nidra bhayam. Nobody is talking about how to become free from material life. I mean, there's nothing wrong if one gets married, but what is the goal? What is the center? Center has to be Krishna. Otherwise, it will be just struggle like everybody else in the world. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the performer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Every living entity is under the full control of the stringent laws of material nature. But rascals think themselves independent. Actually, however, they cannot be independent. This is foolishness. A foolish civilization is extremely risky, and therefore the Krishna conscious movement is trying to make people aware of their fully dependent condition under the stringent laws of nature, and is trying to save them from being victimized by strong Maya, which is Krishna's external energy. Krishna energy is exactly like a prison house. We are educating people to follow the rules of the state so that they don't go to the prison house. But if nobody knows what the rules of the state, then they end up the whole population goes to the prison house. And they are the prison of material nature. Behind the material laws is the supreme controller, Krishna. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharata. Therefore, if one surrenders unto Krishna, mam eva ya prapadyante mayam etam tarante, one may immediately be freed from the control of external nature. Sagunan samatitatan brahma bhuyaya kalpa. This should be the aim of life. Beautiful words, beautiful purpose, very important points to meditate on. Maya dakshena prakriti, and then mam eva ya prapadyante mayam etam tarante. How to go beyond the material modes of nature? Mam eva prapadyante. After all, whatever you may do, you have to surrender to that situation. And why not surrender to Krishna? That requires devotees association. To hear the Shastras, this knowledge through a devotee. Like Krishna may be the father of all living entities. Krishna says that. Aham bija pradam pita. But still, if you want to have a child, you have to go through the process in this world. Get married, have husband, wife, and then the goal is to have a child. And if they are fortunate, they will perform Garbhadan Samskara. And if they are not fortunate, they'll just enjoy their senses in each other's company and become more deluded. So Krishna is there as the father of all living, but still in the micro level, we all have fathers and mothers. so that we know how to relate to them as representatives of Krishna. If we don't respect our parents as a representative of Krishna and the Guru as a representative of Krishna, and then we cannot love Krishna at all. We are so far away from developing love for Krishna. So therefore, one has to learn all these things. Mameva prapadyante mayameva tam tarantite. And then sagunan samatitatan brahmavoya. Then one may immediately be freed from the control of external nature. So even within this lifetime, one can become Jivan Mukta. One becomes free from the influence and become happily situated in pure devotion service. So this is the whole purpose of this Python Baba is talking about this. And Prabhupada is giving wonderful elaborate purport on this verse. And if there are any questions at this point, please kindly ask or comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, all grace to Prabhupada. It was
Jai
such a
Ho.
nice class reflecting upon what is the priority in life. Go back to Godhead. So my question is about it is it is said that if some prarabdha is to happen, it will happen by itself, even with no effort. Like the python gets the prey flying down. So my question is, why we need to make effort for parishram? Why is the parishram required?
Either you make parishram to advance in Krishna consciousness, or you got to do parishram to trying to satisfy the senses. Parishram will be there. Because parishram is done, on which platform it is done? It's called pavarga, not apavarga. Apavarga is trying to solve the problems of life. Pavarga is trying to maintain this material world, material body, material existence. The parishram will be done. After all, what you're doing there in US, you're doing parishrama. Because you're not living in a temple or living in Bharatvarsh in a dham, where the goal is only to worship Krishna. That bhajan level has not come yet. Therefore, if you are a householder, then there is some parishram involved in that. But you have to know how to make that parishram spiritualized by offering it to Krishna. Mam eva prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Krishna says very clearly, Mam eva prapadyante. So even if you are a householder, husband and wife, both together, Mam eva prapadyante. One who surrenders to Krishna, Krishna's desire, and do everything what is needed. After all, even if you buy boga, something, fruits and vegetables and rice and dal, some money is needed. Unless you have landed property where everything grows. But if that is not happening, you might have to go to supermarket. But the idea is you're doing this function, parishram, to please Krishna. But if that is not there, that center is missing, then it is purely parishram. Then foam will come, then you will struggle and everything will come. Papa bhavama.
Nice. Another question is about for the argument goes in the material circles that we have to save for the progeny, for the son, daughter. So my point is, if the son and daughter are Krishna conscious, so that is the best gift that one can give. So why to keep bequeath wealth to the son and daughter?
Exactly. I mean, the point is, whether you have wealth or no wealth, the main thing that has to be given to the children is the process of bhakti, to please Krishna, that we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are not part and parcel of these parents, even though we may have parents. In one sense, parents are instrumental to bringing us into this body. But ultimately, who is the Father? Who made the universe? Aham bija pratham pita. Nityo nityanam chetanasya eko yo vidadati kaman. He is the fulfiller of desires. So this knowledge has to be given, spoken about, discussed as often as one can, and associate with devotees and to hear this knowledge, because it requires so much hearing. It's almost like brainwashing, because brainwashing has to be done. And if you don't wash the brain, then the brain is always clouded. So you have to hear constant Srimvatam Swakata Krishna Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Always. If you don't do this always, then there's other news is waiting of Maya to get into our heads. People are busy nowadays with their phone. What are they doing with their phone? Are they discussing Krishna consciousness? Something else will come into our head. You cannot keep the head vacant. Then you have to go through voidism. Then that is also not an easy thing. It's quite some struggle to make the mind empty. Not so easy. But we are not planning to make mind empty. But whatever thoughts we have, we try to purify by the process of chanting. Kalo doshanije rajan hasti eko mahan gunat kirtana eva krishnasya mukta sangam. The faults are there within our own self, within our mind. But simply by taking up the process of chanting the holy names, we purify. Because we are actually part of Krishna. The purified state of existence means we are acting as humble servants of Krishna. We are making that our goal.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Prabhuji.
questions?
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions? Alek Gorpade, you have any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam, all glories to Srila
Jai
Prabhupada.
Jai.
And thank you
Yeah.
very much for the wonderful class on Pavarga and Apavarga. Prabhuji, my question is, even though we are trying to be devotees, when we, as grahasthas, we have to engage in doing our duty. So, and sometimes we have to focus on that so much because there are layoffs, there are so many things happening in the industry. And so while we are doing that, how can we think of Krishna also at the same time? Thank you, Prabhuji.
See, Prabhupada did not want that our devotees engage in the modern job market. He wanted that everybody gets a little piece of land and grow vegetables and have cows. This is the standard Prabhupada wanted. And that nobody is doing because it's easy to make money from outside. But if you have a little land to grow your vegetables, and if you have the means to buy a land, you should buy a land. A few acres of land, you have a few cows. It'll start with one cow at least, one or two cows. And you protect them and you offer that milk to Krishna. See, the whole idea must be to please Krishna. Then the struggle will reduce. But if, otherwise, as you said, the whole day gets lost in the maintenance. Especially if you live in America, you want to buy vegetables, you have to go in car and you have to have a car minimum. Nobody lives without a car there. You cannot just walk around. There's no bullock carts. So life in America is very complicated, and all over Western world. Now India also, they are becoming like that. So we should stay in the dham as much as we can. And there are dhams, there's so many beautiful temples everywhere. Any temple you can go and attend the arati and attend have harikatha in the association of devotees. And now they are having less like we are using digital format to have classes. And this is also association. But best is to association with sadhu in person and be able to render service to that sadhu. Vishram Mena Gurav Seva, very intimate service. And how to find that type of person? He is Swajatiya Snigdasya. He is from the same mood of the lion and who is very affectionate to us. This Ramanujacharya Sampradaya is there, there's Madhvacharya, they're all Sampradayas are there. But we have to find somebody who's in the same line as we, our goal. And Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line. And that person must be affectionate to you. Vishrambena Gurau Seva. Very intimate service. So that otherwise, if there is no Vishrambena Gurau Seva, Vaishnava Seva, then it's difficult. What are you going to do in the Dham? Even in the Dham, you have to have that association and learn systematically how to sing bhajans and understand the meanings of the bhajans. Prabhupada talks about that in the same 7th canto, chapter 9, text 18. You should read that in the same canto. Very clearly, Prabhupada talks about singing the bhajans which has been left by the previous acharyas. All Uttama Bhagavatas, not some, neophytes. So if you want to make progress, that's just like if you all gone to America, because in America you can get so-called job, but the cost of living in America is also very high. If you have money and you send to India, then you get like 80 rupees per dollar. Maybe you can have a little bit more money in India, but then you have to send it from there to here and you have to save it. You have to do some jugglery, but get a land, get a good piece of land, 1 or 2 bigas, 3 bigas, 4 bigas. It's not so difficult. Whichever part of India you come from, you make sure you don't live in a city. If you live in a city, it's difficult. And wherever you are, you preach. Jare dako tare kaho Krishna upadesh. You spread Krishna consciousness and create a little association of devotees. And like this, come together, read Bhagavatam. First of all, it purifies me when I read all these verses. And you share your realizations with others. You understand, Vamsi Vilasji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Yeah.
For the wonderful.
You have to put Prabhupada's actual formula into practice. That's why he created farm projects in America. Otherwise, you cannot avoid working in some job somewhere. And life is not so easy. Even in America, it's not a heavenly planet, All the worst things happen in America, because I remember I stayed for 7 years there doing my preaching work, and it's not a sweet place. It's not a holy dham to begin with. And if you don't associate with the locals, they will think you guys, you're living in your own bubble. They will criticize us. Because Indians don't like they cannot mix with Americans in general. Because Americans have a different mentality, and they're highly, even relationship ordinary is all filled with sense gratification and sinful life. Meat eating, intoxication, all these things is common for Americans. So we as Indians, or those who are coming into Krishna, we know we cannot associate very close with them. Then you have to find a suitable association. But if you are surrounded by these people, how are you going to deal with it? You have to come up with a process where you can serve some prasadam with some excuse. Oh, today we had a festival, it's a famous, and here is some nice, you make a nice halwa or something and offer it to the neighbors. You have to turn that place a little bit spiritualize that atmosphere. But if you live on your own and you cannot relate with all these locals, and they will advance in their own sense gratification. And that will influence us also. You cannot avoid it. Like I used to travel in America having cooking class. I used to travel length and breadth of the country. But wherever I went, I just did my cooking class, karma-free cooking class. And then I will show them how to make it karma-free. They have this concept, we'll bless the food as if they are God, They have a funny concept of holding the 2 hands on top of the food. But no, the offering has to be done like this. Then we do kirtan. And after 5-10 minutes of kirtan, then I'll give them a little bit, because they're come mainly for sense gratification, basically to learn cooking and eating. But we have to introduce these things. And during the process of cooking, then I talk about 3 modes of nature and different aspects of cooking, why we should, what is this foodstuffs, what are the 6 type of taste, simple things which they can relate to it in that 1 hour class or 3 hours class. So we should be very creative in interacting with people in a very Krishna conscious way. Otherwise, you cannot avoid it. Of course, visiting the temple is wonderful. But even if I was living in Dallas Temple at that time, but from there I used to go all over the place. I used to meet people in Dallas Temple and then take their telephone numbers. In those days, there was no mobile, nothing. And I would go to New York to do a cooking class. Drive all the way from that, and then I go to New York in the middle. I'll stay in the different temples in New York, or you go to Boston, or you go to, what is that called? The top of the country, North Dakota, South Dakota, this, that. I had a cooking class. It was a really fun time. Got to be creative. And then sometimes you get nice school programs. Somebody will say, can you, because our knowledge is so pristine and so sublime. People think if I arrange a class in my school, can you come? I said, yes, why not? And I will make them a small pot of halwa and then small cupcakes, paper cups. I put a little halwa and give it to them. So you've done your chanting, you do a little kirtan, you explain a little bit of the, how much can you explain in 1 hour class? Not much. But you have to be very intensely focused and do something. They might invite you for the next time. So you got to be creative. You have to be creative. Just like Prabhupada was creative. He would have it in the temple room, a big bottle of gulab jamuns. As soon as the gulab jamuns go down, he would fill it up with another 50 gulab jamuns. So that people, the habit of eating something sweet, otherwise they have to buy sweets from us. So they would, without asking anything, you can take 1 or 2 gulab jamuns. Intense sweet, they'll become satisfied. You got to be creative. Even in our own family life, you have to be creative. And that we have learned from Prabhupada. He was unlimitedly creative. Any other questions? Geeta, where are you? You're somewhere there. Geeta is not there anymore. Alek Gorpade. I can't understand you. You have to come closer to the microphone of the phone.
डेफिनेटली तुझे वो ये करना चाहिए सारा पूरा तेरे पास सेट बना हुआ है.
It's difficult to understand. It's okay. Praveen Govind Das, Neha, any questions? Anybody? Anubhav? Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll do a little bhajan. If you have no questions, we'll have a bhajan now. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Follow everybody.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
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 Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana
Jai Jamuna Tira वनचारी
यमुना
तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी
जय
कुंज विहारी
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे
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 हरे राम
हरे
हरे राम
राम राम
राम राम
हरे
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 हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे
हरे
राम
राम
हरे
राम
राम राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्णा हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्णा
कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्णा
हरे
हरे हरे
हरे
हरे
राम
राम
हरे
हरे राम
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 हरे
हरे हरे
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय
प्रभु
प्रभुपदा जय
जय प्रभु
प्रभुपदा
जय
जय
प्रभु
प्रभुपदा जय
जय
प्रभुपदा
प्रभुपाद
जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
जय
जय गुरुदेवा
गुरुदेव
जय गुरुदेवा जय
जय
गुरुदेव
गुरुदेव जय
जय
गुरुदेव
गुरुदेव
जय निताय जय गौर जय निताय जय गौर
जय
जय
निताय
जय
जय
गौर
गौर
जय
जय
निताय
निताय
जय
जय
गौर
गौर
जय जय सचिनंदन गौर हरि जय सचिनंदन गौर हरि
जय
जय
सच्चिदानंद
सचिनंदन
गौर
हरि
हरि जय
जय
सच्चिदानंद
सचिनंदन गौर
गौर
हरि
हरि
जय राधा रमण जय राधा रमण जय राधे
जय
जय
राधा
राधा
रमण
रमण
जय
जय
राधा रमण जय राधा
जय
रमण जय
जय
राधे
जय ललिता देवी जय अष्ट सखी विशाखा देवी जय अष्ट सखी
जय ललिता देवी जय अष्ट सखी जय विशाखा देवी जय अष्ट सखी
जय गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन
जय
जय
गिरिराज
जय
जय
गोवर्धन
गोवर्धन जय गिरिराज
जय
गोवर्धन
गोवर्धन
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल
नित्य गौरा हरि
हरि
बोल
बोल हरि बोल
हरि बोल
हरि बोल
हरि
हरि
नित्य
बोल
बोल
गौरा हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल
गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि
हरि हरि
बोल
हरि
बोल
हरि बोल
हरि
श्रील
बोल हरि
प्रभुपाद की जय श्रील
जय
गुरुदेव की जय श्रीनिताय राधा रमन गिरिराज गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय
जय
सुखदेव गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय हो
जय
श्री श्री प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल परपोर्ट्स की जय हो all glory assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण
हरे
all
जय
कृष्ण
glories
हो
हरे
जय
हरे
कृष्ण all
कृष्ण
glories
Hare
Hare Krishna.
All glories, all glories, all glories to the Guru and God.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki jai.
His Grace Ram Shraddha Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Are you all coming to Gaur Purnima to Mayapur?
No, Prabhuji.
You should make a plan to come to Mayapur, you know.
Yes,
A
Prabhuji.
lot of things are happening, Kirtan, Mela, whatnot. They are having a lot of things, drama, this, that, and they are parikrama. It will be a nice opportunity to, and then I could see them. You should visit us then also when you come here.
Pray for us, Prabhuji.
Yeah, hopefully.
We can come soon.
Only
You should
Savita Mataji
make
can
a-
arrange.
Yes.
You should make a plan to come to Mayapur. Very
Yes.
important.
We will plan a everyday chant japa group trip, Prabhuji. Group trip.
Yeah, you should.
Yes.
Hari Bol.
Thank you for
Hari
inviting.
Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you,
Hari
Prabhuji.
Bol.
Thank you.
Jai.
Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranam.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you for nice class, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.